Welcome to our Stat Sisters Special Nursing Week mini-pod episode. This week, we interviewed nurses and asked them to share their nursing stories and advice. I had a great time talking with these fabulous nurses. I hope you enjoy this special mini-podcast.
Hey, well, welcome back to our Special Nurses Week mini-podcast, our mini podcast. So I am here today with my very good friend and colleague, Glenda Patrick. And she is going to be speaking to us a little bit about nursing and why she still is in nursing after quite a awesome career. So, Glenda, welcome.
Thank you, Carrie.
Do you want to just share, because I know pretty much the overview of your story, but our listeners don't. So, can you just tell me a little bit how you started nursing and take me through your career, because it's impressive.
I am originally from Canada, so I went to school there, got my bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Calgary 31 years ago. So, what's that? 1986. And then with the economics in Canada at that time, to get a job, we had to move to a really small, isolated community. And that was a little different for someone who grew up near a city. So I learned a lot about being a nurse there. And then, unfortunately, after about 8 years of experience in Canada, the Canadian government started shutting beds. And with the union, I wasn't going to have a job. So in 1993, there was an election in my home province of Alberta, and the Canadian government decreased funding as well, and they started locking, literally putting locks on hospital rooms so they wouldn't get used.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In some of the small hospitals, they literally put padlocks on the doors. I was a nursing instructor at that time, so I was out of the nursing union. And of course, because they didn't need all the nurses, they were cutting the nursing programs. So my job as a nursing instructor was being eliminated. And because of the union, I couldn't get back into the hospitals because they were bumping, doing layoffs there as well based on seniority. So we looked to Texas. And we came down here in 1994 to Kingsville, Texas. So from an isolated small community in northern Alberta, Canada, to South Texas was quite a culture shock.
I bet.
And then I've been in Texas ever since. So we spent 4 years in Kingsville, then we moved to Fort Worth, and I'm now working in Houston at Texas Children's Hospital Pavilion for Women.
Awesome. And that's where we met.
Yes.
Almost 3 years ago now.
Yes, we started just about the same time. We raised a lot. We were both on night shift, both managers. Sometimes managers help house supervisors and charge nurses.
We had a good go.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is a very long career. How many years is that?
31.
31.
I know. I don't know how it's possible. I'm only 29, but
you were literally born a nurse, right?
Yes, I was born a nurse now. No, 31 years. So I'm one of those baby boomers that wants to retire in a few years. No, I'm not really a baby. I guess I'm borderline baby boomer.
Yeah.
So.
Well, nursing has been benefited from your long career. So from someone that's been in for 31 years, what keeps you being a nurse?
Patience. It's the people in the bed. Even though I'm away from the bedside now, I'm in an educator role, and I've been in a manager role for so I'm more in a leadership role now, and it's the patients in the bed. That's why we all come to work. I may not, some days I am at the bedside, but the days that I'm not at the bedside, I'm helping with the education and competency evaluation of the nurses that are at the bedside. So we're making sure that those patients in our beds are receiving the best possible care. And I think that's why most of us do our job is for the patients. And, and moms and babies, that's what I liked. So
I think that you hit on something completely relevant and something we don't really talk about, because we talk about all these nurses are leaving the bedside, but even though you kind of are a step back from the bedside, like you said, you still are very active at the bedside. And also, we have to have people step back in order to take care of the nurses that are taking care of the patients. But it is ultimately still about I like how you said it, the person in the bed.
Yeah. It is the person in the bed, and where we work here at the pavilion, we're getting the sick of the sick.
Right.
And, a lot of the things that we see might be more med-surg related, and we're OB nurses.
Right.
So there has to be some, we learned it in school, but that may have been a long time for some of the nurses. So you need someone there to kind of bridge that gap, to give you the extra information, to give you even a little extra support, to even go into some of these rooms and help with procedures. For example, NG tubes, we put them in. I mean, we have ladies that have surgery. So guess what? They don't, they get an ileus, then guess what? They get an NG tube. But as a rule, OB nurses don't usually put in NG tubes, but there's times that we have to. So just being that support, and so you're supporting the nurses who's ultimately giving that great care to that patient. So in a way, you're helping both out.
Absolutely.
Helping the team out. So
Absolutely. So do you have any stories? I've heard some of Glenda's stories, and they're awesome. And I actually have a story about Glenda that I'll share. Because just to illustrate how awesome she is, we've done a lot of work together, and we presented at Magnet. We've done a lot of stuff together. But first, I want to hear a nursing story that's going to help fuel those people out there on the front lines when they're feeling like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Well, one of the things I think made me realize that, I really wanted to continue to work in OB, moms and babies especially, as a young and dumb and naive nurse in this little isolated community. It was only we maybe had 2,500 people that lived in the town. There was a lot of Indian settlements and reservations around the community, so we had a lot of native Indians come to the hospital to deliver. And we thought we were so smart, we were going to make teaching videos for, to show these young girls how to bathe their babies and so we made our homemade videos, and we would show them and have them practice bathing their babies before they took them home. So we thought we were pretty proud of ourselves. And I think maybe a year to a year and a half later, I started working public health. And part of my job up there as public health is we went out and saw the new moms in their homes, usually by the time the baby was 2 weeks old. So we would go into the home and, weigh and measure the baby and do a Denver developmental screening on the baby and make sure mom was doing okay and do all these, nice things and get to see the babies in their house. So one cold winter day with lots of snow on the ground, I drove up to this little shack, and it really was a shack, and went to the door, and this young girl came to the door. She had her baby swaddled in a traditional, Indian papoose. There was dirt. She had a dirt floor, which was clean. She must have swept it.
Yeah, it wasn't dirty. It was a dirt floor.
It was just a dirt floor. She had, and this is the middle of winter, so the wood-burning stove was on. So she, obviously had to get wood to keep the house warm. It was really warm. And she had no running water.
Gosh.
There was a, outhouse or, kind of. And she went out and got snow and was melting snow
Oh my gosh.
on the stove. So here I was thinking, oh my gosh, she probably watched my video of running water and this is how you bathe your baby. And she didn't have any of that. However, that was probably the cleanest, tidiest home that I was in. That baby was absolutely beautiful, and there was not a speck of dust or dirt or anything in her little creases. I mean, she was just a well cared for baby. But it just made me realize that, I was assuming that everybody had everything that I had, and so many of our patients don't. They, like this wasn't an extreme, but that was in the mid-1980s. Everybody should have had
Absolutely, yeah.
running water, but you don't always know, and it's important to get to know your patients and assess what do they have, what do they need. There's so much more to them than just that patient in the bed, because you don't know what they're going home to. So that was kind of a real changing experience for me, is to make sure my patients had what they needed, and not to assume that they have the things that I have. So
Yeah. That is such a good insight and something for us to remember. So I know we think maybe we're immune to that here in Houston because we are a very affluent,
Right.
society. But I know miles away from my house, because I live on the outskirts, there are people still with very
Right.
limited resources, and they don't
Yeah.
always have like working electricity or plumbing.
Yeah. You just never know what they're going home to or what they have to deal with when they go home. And you want to, now we even keep patients shorter times in the hospital. So it doesn't matter if you're taking care of an OB patient or you taking care of someone with congestive heart failure. They need the tools
Right.
to be able to care for themselves. And it's up to us to try to give them as much as we can to, so they can go home and be at home.
Absolutely.
We don't want them readmitted because that costs money. So
It costs money and it's not good for them.
yeah,
I agree. It's really important to know what their resources are going to be at their home.
yeah,
Because we do have an idealistic, like, okay, this is what you should be doing, and these are all the things you should be doing. But if they don't have those resources, we need to like tailor our education to, this is what you can do. This is the best scenario for your
Right.
case to take the best care of your baby.
yeah.
Oh gosh, that's sad. Well, let's turn it around a little bit and get so my story about Glenda is, and she probably knows where I'm going with this.
I don't know.
She's like nodding her head, maybe.
Maybe.
So I this is not really a nursing story, but it happened at a nursing conference. So we were in Magnet, and there's actually two things. So we were there to do a presentation about this initiative that we had done, and a hurricane came while we were in Magnet, and it cut Magnet short for us. And so we left, and we didn't want to stay in the storm. Glenda's like, I'm from Canada and I don't do hurricanes. And I was like, okay, let's get on the road. And so we drove back from Houston all the way from Orlando and hit hurricane traffic. And Glenda was amazing. I was so tired. I slept most of the way, and she drove.
A Canadian was getting out of Florida. I was getting away from Matthew. Oh my gosh.
So I will never ever forget that trip, because it was just so crazy that happened. But before we had the storm, we did have we got to go to Universal, and we went to Harry Potter together. That was fun. And we went on, what was that roller coaster? Was it No, it wasn't. Rock and roll roller coaster or something?
Yeah, it had that rock and roll music. Yeah, I think that's what it was called.
I'll have to look it up, but I love roller coasters. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if Glenda will want to go on this roller coaster with me. And she was so excited. She was like dragging me on it, and I almost pooped myself because it was so scary. And it was so scary. There was no like real restraints. It was like just this bar that went across us, and our bottoms like kept coming up off the chair, off the seat, and it wasn't like one of those ones that don't have flips. It had a ton of flips.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was scary.
And we had both lost so much weight, our butts actually could get off. That was the funny part. He was like, oh, okay.
It was so scary. But I was so scared, like, I went back with my kids, like, 3 months later, and I wouldn't let one of my kids that was tall enough go because I was so scared. And Glenda was like, that was so cool. Do you want to go again? I'm like, no. So anyway, it was awesome. It was an awesome trip, and I'll just always remember that too. How we did that roller coaster together, and I was so scared. I thought we were gonna die. And I did not go back on that roller coaster.
Oh.
Even when we went back.
Yeah, just found out another side of me, that's all.
I know. And like, I won't go back on the roller coaster, but Glenda's planning her skydiving trip.
Mm-hmm. I am. That's gonna be this summer. So I'll send you pictures.
That's cool. I totally need to see that. I want to see the video. You totally need to put it on YouTube.
There you go. Maybe. We'll see how scared I am, or how scared I look when I do it.
Oh gosh. Well, Glenda, thanks so much for sharing some of your nursing insights. And oh, there was one more thing I wanted you to see if. Okay, so do you have any? You're a nurse, like moving towards the end of your career, and we have been focusing on students and people coming into nursing, like the first couple of years. What advice do you have for them?
I think the biggest thing, and even when I was, a formal nursing instructor in Canada, never stop learning. Every day in nursing, you probably learn something new. It might be something really small, but, every week you keep learning. Don't ever close your mind to not open to new ideas. I went back to school after being out of school for 26 years. That was a challenge, but that kind of revived me for, the last part of my career. But just never stop learning and keep an open mind. Get involved. Get involved with evidence-based practice. Get involved with your shared governance. It's just so important to be involved because this is our career. This is our future. This is, I want people that at the bedside that want to take care of me when I'm in the nursing home. But we have a voice, and we need to learn to use that. We are large numbers, but you wouldn't really know that if you went to any legislation or anything.
Absolutely.
We do not do a good job for advocating ourselves. So get involved, keep learning, keep, and get involved in your hospital. Shared governance, most of the hospitals in the country want to be magnets, so they're, this is your opportunity to make nursing what you want nursing to be, and to make your hospital get involved, and keep learning, because you never want to be that nurse that says, well, we've always done it this way, or get stuck in the rut, because that's not fun. But you can make a difference if you just get involved and keep an open mind.
Good advice. And you're right, there's a ton of nurses. There is, for every 100 U.S. citizens, there's one nurse.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Right.
But you're right. Nobody hears from us.
Right.
But when they do hear from us, like when we had that show me your stethoscope thing,
right,
there was like the whole thing that story was around was such an insignificant event, like in the grand scheme of nursing.
Right.
But it got so much attention, and nurses like stood up for it, and it showed the immense power that nursing has. Like if we got behind something really important, not that nurse wasn't important,
right,
but really, like there's so many other things that we could use that same power for.
Right.
And yeah, you're totally right. Please, please, please get involved from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep learning, and there some days aren't are bad days, but you're gonna have bad days at no matter what career you do.
Absolutely.
And just remember to keep those positive experiences in your little, I don't know, basket or whatever you want of positive thoughts, and you can always pull those out on those bad days. You'll get lots of memories that are really positive, so keep those, and when you have a bad day, then you go back and you can look at those, and it makes you remember why you do what you do. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it so much. Yep. I think that's all. So we'll just say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.